Joining us now is former Israeli ambassador to the United States, Michael Oren. Ambassador, thank you so much for your time. First off, have you heard anything about the Rafah crossing? And because we're getting, conflicting reports. On one side, we're hearing that the Egyptians say that their side is open, but on the other side, on the Gaza side, that the roads and have been, I guess, damaged, and hence there can be no movement of people or goods.
Good morning, Amra. Good morning, Victor. Good to be with you. This is an old story. This is not the first time this happened. This is the fifth round of fighting we've had with Hamas. In almost every round, we have an issue with the Rafah crossing. Egypt is very reluctant to let Palestinians into Sinai, into the northern Sinai city of Al Rish. The Egyptians don't like to create that type of precedent, but here there may be all alternative. The civilians have to clear out of northern Gaza because that is where the fighting has been, and the fighting is going to be underground, not just on top of the ground. Hamas has built hundreds of attack tunnels under these cities, under hospitals, under schools. The Israel Defense Forces have no choice but to go into those tunnels, into those bunkers. You can't do this with a million civilians on top. So they have to move. The question is where. Southern Gaza is largely agricultural. It's open. There are fields there, but the best possible refuge temporarily for these civilians is in Egypt. The Egyptians, the last I heard, and this is only a few minutes ago, were saying that that Hamas has been shelling the approaches to Rafah with rocket fire. Now that makes sense because Hamas doesn't want the civilians to flee. Hamas needs the civilians as human shields. I know this is hard to, wrap a civilized head around, but this is what Hamas is about. They don't want them to flee. They want to keep them there. So there's a delicate balance. I also know from the Israeli side, there's been lots of calls for Israel to let food into the Gaza Strip. I was for the Israeli government. I was in government. I was actually in charge of this issue of getting food and supplies into Gaza. We have one major crossing. It's called Kerem Shalom, which is ironically translated as the Vineyard of Peace. It is no longer Vineyard of Peace. It has been completely destroyed by Hamas. They killed all the Israelis there. So even if there was a possibility of getting food into that crossing, it no longer exists because Hamas blew it up. So it's a very dire situation. I hope there can be a solution on the Egyptian side.
So you're saying that despite the blockade that was ordered by Israel on food and water and fuel, your explanation is that there is no way to get those supplies into civilians in Gaza?
Well, we don't provide water to Gaza. We provide certain desalinization processes for Gaza. Hamas simply ruined all of the well system, the aquifer in Gaza. And in the past, during peacetime, we could desalinate some of the water, but that's about it. The electricity, we provide about 50% of the electricity in Gaza. The other side is in the charge of Hamas. Hamas has cut off electricity. I guarantee you, all the bunkers, all the tunnels have electricity.
I do want to ask you about this warning from Iran, basically warning Israel that it will intervene if the operation into Gaza continues. Are you concerned about, what do you think of this warning, and how concerned are you about this becoming a wider regional conflict, starting with Hezbollah and, of course, Iran backing Hezbollah?
We take the warning very, very seriously. Iran is committed to our destruction. Iran is the major financial backer and trainer of Hamas, and Iran is the owner and operator of Islamic Jihad, and that's the other terrorist organization in Gaza that participated in the massacres of our people. So we take it very, very seriously. Iran has also been trying to transform Syria into an open front against us, and the Israeli Air Force has been operating nightly to prevent that from happening. A very anxious and dangerous situation. The immediate danger is from Hezbollah in the north. Hamas has about 10,000, 15,000 rockets. Some of them hit near where I'm talking to you this morning. You're in my bomb shelter. Ignore the books behind me. It is a bomb shelter. And a building next door was destroyed. The Hamas has about 150,000 rockets. Many of them are accurate. Tens and tens of thousands of them are buried under homes in southern Lebanon, in villages in southern Lebanon. So that if Israel had to go after them, we'd have to go village to village, house to house. Hezbollah has a large trained army of terrorists who have been fighting in the Syrian civil war on that behalf of Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian dictator, for about 10 years, a grave threat. Hezbollah has been firing at us. They've killed 4 of our soldiers so far. They've fired dozens of mortar rounds. They haven't fired all those rockets yet. They haven't begun. But if they do, There'll be a two-front war such as Israel has not seen since 1973.
Yeah, Mr. Ambassador, I've got one more for you. The Israeli National Security Council said yesterday that Israel will not hold negotiations with an enemy that we have vowed have vowed to wipe off the face of the earth. This, of course, for the hostages. But there is precedent here. Do you agree with the decision not to negotiate to release these hostages when Israel has negotiated with Hamas in the past to release an Israeli soldier, Gilad Shalit?
Yeah, it's a point of fact that Israel has negotiated with the Egyptians, who would negotiate with the
Sure,
Qataris,
as an intermediary, yes.
I know it's a distinction without a difference. I get that. Listen, I'm not a spokesman for the Israeli government anymore. I'm a civilian here, and I would say that it's kind of an irrelevant decision. I tell you why: because Hamas has no intention to negotiate for these hostages. Hamas needs the hostages as human shields. If the civilians clear out, that's their major human shield. Their last human shield will be the hostages, and that's what they're interested in. And right now, you're not going to hear Hamas talking about negotiating. And certainly not seriously. They're going to hold on to these people as long as we can. We want to release them. We're going to have to release them the best we can using the military means at our disposal.
Yeah, well, still the U.S. officials are exploring other channels to negotiate or hopefully help with from Qatar. We're going to leave it there. Ambassador Michael Oren, thank you very much.